Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao-tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Every day we take a step, we understand. The closer that we get, we'll find in who we are. We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We'll find in who we are.
Good morning and welcome to our program Aspire. How would you define the word life? Some people would think of life in terms of the things that happen to them as a physical experience, as living in the body. Other people think it's just the mind. But I think that life is what you see around you. It is the blending of the air, of the water. It is the blending of ourselves with all of life. And when we can learn that kind of simplicity and harmony, that's when we find the significance to life. We're going to do something quite daring this morning. We're going to work on life and how we may blend and harmonize with it. Come aspire. What is spirituality? It's a question that is often asked. In this day where we are hearing about trance mediums and trance channels and all sorts of things, again, finding our spirituality seems to be a very important thought. And that's probably its biggest problem is it's a thought. You know, a lot of metaphysics is based around the idea of thought itself. And we in the West are obsessed with our minds. Somehow we feel that through our thoughts and through our attitudes in our mind that we're going to find a sense of spirituality. But that's really not true. Spirituality comes beyond the mind. And I would like to, in this particular discourse with you, talk to you about something that's very touchy. It is the male and female nature of us, because that's where our spirituality is found. It's found in a harmony, in a compassion, and in a love that kind of flows. It is not found in religious dogma and creed. Let me explain to you what I mean. The yin and the yang, an ancient symbol, the symbol of a white part of a circle blending into a black part of a circle. It's an interesting kind of teaching. In fact, it's a perfect symbol for the harmony of life, the male and the female. When a person works a great deal from their thoughts, from their intellect, and from their mind, as we do in the West, we think that spirituality has to do with what we think. We become very demanding in our thoughts. Thoughts always are that masculine side of us. And because our thoughts are so masculine, always thinking about obtaining, always thinking about getting, about dominating, a lot of the more feminine side of our nature has been missed. And here is where the touchy side begins. What is spirituality? It is the perfect blending and the perfect flow of life. The flow of the male and the female, the yin and the yang. The flow as they move towards life together. It is not more male or more female. It is not more female than male. It is the perfect blending and the balance of them. When we start to achieve great spirituality, some resistance often comes up, and I'd like to kind of share that with you because the resistance is very interesting. In men, the moment that spirituality begins to touch their life, one of the most interesting things that occurs is that they begin to find the female in them. And every male has the female within. It's very threatening to a man to sense his own femininity. It frightens him because he's worried about his sexuality. We in the West are very hung up with sex. Sex is a very big problem to us. We don't mind engaging in it. We have a problem understanding it. And because especially men misunderstand their female nature, it makes it very difficult for us to go any deeper with sex than just a physical act. You see, the perfect blending of the male and the female in all human beings brings us to a flow, to a harmony that allows us to meditate and to see clearly our nature. Women also have trouble with their male energy as well. They are too threatened with it, but they seem to be much more comfortable with it as time goes on. They adapt to it quickly. There are probably many reasons for it, but the major reason is that they learn how to yield quicker than we do. We men have problems with our female nature. If we're going to find the balance of our life, we're going to have to find it through the yin and the yang, the male and the female energy flowing through us. I want to give you some insight into this. I know this seems a little different, but flow with me a minute. Maybe it will touch your life a little later on. The way we think in the West, we think logically. It's an interesting thing. We think from A to Z. We go from A to B to C to D, all the way to Z in a logical pattern. And we think very linear. We have no broad scope in life, no broad point of view about life. We just think of it as starting from A and working to Z. Spirituality does not work on a linear line. Spirituality works in circles. It's kind of a spiral that grows. When we are thinking from our head, we are always thinking from a linear point of view. We are thinking that this should bring this, should bring this, should bring that. We are working from a spiritual point of view. We are not thinking about results. We are not thinking about the end. We are thinking about the evolution. And that is the key. When we are working from our mind, we are not interested in evolution. We are interested in only what we can get. When we work from our heart, we work from the spiral staircase, so to speak, that brings us to the yin and the yang, the development of the soul and of the being. I want to give you some practice ideas. It's important that you work with this. And gentlemen, those of you who are watching, this is a hard thing to do, especially for us who are so hung up in our sexuality. But if you can let it go, you'll find that your meditations will become very clear. You'll find a very precise point in your meditation. First of all, don't think from a linear point of view. Think from a round point of view. Get in touch with your feelings. Not your emotions, but your feelings. Your heart. Please remember, as I've said to you so many times before, spirituality is not a matter of memorization. It is not a matter of how much you know, knowledge of other people, Bible scriptures, the Quran, the Gita, the Tao. You can read them all, be very intellectually acquainted with them, and miss their meaning and their significance. This is where the female side comes in. Because on the feminine side of our nature, we seek to go deeper, we seek to understand. So do this with me. In your effort to grow spiritually, don't read a lot, listen a lot. Practice in your meditation getting in touch with your feelings. Let your feelings bring to you the message. If you are very still, very quiet on the inside, you'll find out that there is a subliminal message in everything in life, from the smallest experience to the largest experience. The male in us seeks to bring us to that experience. The female in us will help us understand it. The hard part is the second one, the second idea, which is to yield. Yielding is difficult for us. It means we must surrender. And yet all of life demands that we yield. Flowers yield themselves to us. Water yields itself to us. We are the only ones that resist life. When we are moving in the flow and the harmony of life, we're not resisting. We're simply moving in the yin and the yang of our life. Practice this. Yield today. Instead of creating problems and letting your mind be the barrier, working on a linear level, watch your mind make problems. Watch your mind resist. Watch your mind say, no, I don't believe that. No, I can't understand that. No, I won't have that. And then practice the yin and the yang of your life. Yield. Ask yourself, where does this come from in me? If you use your senses, you will always be misdirected. If you use your heart, you will always be guided. So get in touch with your feelings. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? Your feelings will show you. Intuition begins to take over. I'm a firm believer in a woman's intuition. And while all men have it, We need to develop it more by getting in touch with our feminine side. And gentlemen, if I were to give you one small bit of advice, listen to that intuition, both in the feminine side of your nature and in women. It's a knowing that we don't have readily because we are so resistant using our minds on a linear level. The third thing, most important, stop thinking of yourself from your body. This is a very hard point of view. We usually think of ourselves when someone would ask us who you are, the first thing that comes up is our sexuality. Are we a male or are we a female? And then we are conditioned in this society to start thinking and acting like what a male acts like and what a female acts like. If you were to meet a spiritual master, or Jesus or Buddha, do you feel that they had male qualities? You know, when you're near someone who's achieved a great sense of themselves as an eternal being, you begin to sense a lack of sexuality, but a sense of life itself, pure and undaunted. Work with me on this. The yin and the yang of life is very important. It's the perfect symbol for spirituality. It is the blending and the merging of nature, of the male and the female, of God being both the male and the female, and the perfect blending of that essence. When we get in touch with our whole self in that way, we create a spirituality within us, a spirituality that brings us closer to life, but more importantly, closer to our own nature. We begin not to limit ourselves having a body, but we begin to understand the unlimited aspects of us, the potentials of us as a spiritual being, both male and female. And I guarantee you, your meditation will be outstanding. Thanks for being with us. We'll be right back. So many of you have written in and enjoyed our question and answer here and answering the letters that we will continue because your questions are what make this program move. It's the only way I know what's on your mind and what you want to discuss. So we want you to know how much we appreciate your letters. The first question. It seems like my life has become nothing but one problem after another. Is that the way it's supposed to be? I don't know what your life is supposed to be like. I'm not here to tell you what your life is supposed to be like. That's for religion to do. But I can say this for you. Our life is created in the image and the likeness of what we think we are. It is our minds that create the problem. Isn't it interesting how you can wake up in the morning and be laying there totally innocent, and your mind will wake up and go, okay, who are we going to criticize today? Oh, I hate to go to work. I hate to do this. I hate to drive. I hate to go here. I hate to do that. The minute the mind wakes up, that's when the problems occur. Have you ever noticed that there is a period just before you're awake and just before you're asleep where the mind is kind of out of it a little bit, where there are no problems, where everything is just as it is? That space is what we want to get into as a conscious way of living, and that's what meditation is all about. Your life really isn't one problem after another. It's just that our minds create the resistance. And when our mind has become willful or antagonistic, deeply egotistical, making us feel like maybe we're inferior or we're bad people or something's wrong with us, we're going to wake up and create one problem after another in our life. Don't be fooled by your mind. Don't let it make that problem. We make problems. They are not things that happen out of the clear blue sky. They are the way we interpret life. Seek to understand how things happen. You won't see things as a problem anymore. You'll begin to understand them. That doesn't mean you won't be uncomfortable at certain periods in your life. We're all uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be a problem. It doesn't have to be a block. It can be something interesting in our life. This is another question. I've been ill for many years and have read many books on the will to live. I feel I have a will to live, and yet my life has become even more discouraging as my illness progresses. Is the will to live enough? No, it is not enough. A lot of people have what is called this will to live, They want to live because they want to see their children grow up, or they want to live because they want to stay married, or they want to get an object. The will to live is not enough. In fact, let me say this to you, and I don't know who wrote this because it was anonymous, but let me share this with you. Illness is a part of our life experience. We create problems out of illness because we don't seek to understand why we are ill. We are only trying to get rid of the illness itself. And that's where we go wrong. When I find my body is sick, I am never surprised. But when it does occur, I have found this for myself, and it has helped me. Maybe it will help you. I don't resist the illness. I let myself get sick. I let myself feel bad, and I watch where it's taking me. I begin to see that my illnesses arise because in some way, shape, and form, I have been resisting life. I've been taking my problems and submerging them deep down inside of me, trying to ignore them. And what illness is our problem saying, hey, this is serious, pay attention to me. Rather than trying to overcome the illness, maybe it would be better to get involved in it a little bit, to see where it came from. Not to curse it, not to bless it, but to see it in a neutral position. And then just possibly, out of your quiet meditation, you'll begin to see why it's there. And in seeing why it's there, that is the moment of the healing. And that may take place in your body, and that may not take place in your body. If you are bent on just having a healthy body, you'll probably never have one. But if you are very, very diligent inside and seek to understand the wholeness of yourself, that's when the body can heal. That's when we find total healing, because we're not just trying to heal a body, we're finding out how to heal our whole self. The will to live, well, if it's willfulness, we'll never get well. I would rather put it this way: I have a willingness. I will do anything inside of myself that will help me towards wholeness. If that means that I have to get rid of anger or animosity or fear, or probe into the darkest areas of my being to find out exactly what the cause is, that I will make that effort inward. It all depends upon you. Most of us seek to hide, and we use illness to try to hide from the things that we are afraid of. Drop your fear. You have nothing to be afraid of. Speak to the illness. Let it speak back. Have dialogue with it. That's the willingness to be living, to be whole. Next question. This comes from La Jolla. Why did God create good and evil in this world? Or why does He allow there to be an evil in the world? It seems that if God really loved His children, He wouldn't let bad things happen to them. This is a loaded question. First of all, God did not create good and evil. Those are the creations of you and I. We create good and evil. Our minds create good and evil. People who like sunrises say the sunrise is beautiful. The people who like sunsets say, no, the sunset is better. We create good and evil. God did not create it. You have to understand, as long as you and I live in our minds, we will live in duality. As long as we live in duality, there will always seem to be the good people and the bad people. Stop that. Spiritualize your life. Meditate. There is no good. There's no such thing as evil. Things are simply the way they are. He asks, why does God allow there to be evil? God doesn't allow good either. I mean, if we looked at God as a being, as many forms of Western religion do, who looks over the earth and created it, I would say He was a total failure. Look at us. We're always at the threat of destroying our world. We're always at the threat of hurting each other. God did not create evil, and neither did the devil. Oh, I know it's a popular belief that a lot of people like to hold, that the devil made them do it, but that's not true. That's just a cop-out. There is no devil. There is no good either. Drop the idea of good and evil, and you'll see things just the way they are. Things are there because they're there. Look at them. It is our mind's interpretation that makes them so. The last part of his question. If God really loved His children, why would He let bad things happen to them? Again, God doesn't let anything happen to you. God never intervenes in your life. We do one of two things. We either barricade God out of our life due to our own hostility, our own fear, our rigidity of mind, or we let God into our life through our openness, letting go of the barriers. So please understand, God does not intervene. We have to be willing to let God take over in our life. Remember Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane? He said, "Father, take this cup from me." Did God intervene? Absolutely not. God did not stop the crucifixion because it was not a part of God. That was Jesus' destiny that he created for himself, not God's destiny. God has no destiny for you. You are given free life, free love, free will. Use it wisely. Don't negate the life that lives within you. Use it constructively and lovingly, bringing you closer and closer to yourself. One last question here. This comes from Carlsbad. Is world peace really possible? It's an interesting question. I don't really think the question should be, is world peace possible? But I think the question should be, is peace with yourself possible? If you can answer that, then the world peace won't matter. Find peace within yourself. If you find peace within you, you have made the largest contribution to this world that any single person can make. You will be a light to those of us who maybe remain in the darkness. You will offer us a compassion and a love that the world so desperately needs. Don't be looking for world peace around you, waiting for it to happen. It doesn't happen that way. Begin to find peace in yourself. Peace through your heart, through your meditation, through your daily living, through your own being. When it becomes more important to find inner peace than world peace, we find the love that created the world at the same time. God bless. I hope you enjoyed this program, and I also hope you'll write us and let us know how you enjoyed it and what it meant to you, and maybe offer us some of the questions that you might have that we might serve you and answer your questions in future programs, because I'd love to do that with you. I love standing out here. You know, the interesting thing about all of this is the breeze, the air, the water, the color, they all merge together and they create a wholeness in life. The blending of everything makes life exactly what it is, a very harmonious experience. And yet life is happening at a very subtle experience. And if we are very quiet within ourselves and very sensitive, we can pick up on life in a very unique way. Be aware of the male-female in you, the yin and the yang in you. Be aware of it this week. See how they merge together and create the whole of you. A lot of our sensitivity and our simplicity in life is lost because we aren't sensitive enough to feel the essence of life. And it's such a beautiful experience. It's your experience. It's going on within you as well as around you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your morning. It means so much to us. And I want you to know that all of you who write us and who call us and tell us how much you appreciate the program, how deeply it touches me and my staff and all of us who seek to make this program possible. Have a wonderful week. God bless.
Ups and downs, the darkness.